Want to become successful but unsure where to start, or ever felt stuck, like you're standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure of how to take the leap to success? I was there too, starting with nothing but a dream. It's very easy to second-guess your choices when starting out because you feel like you can't afford to lose, but the reality of the predicament you're in is you really have nothing to lose. You're broke and hanging on by a thread and a dream. Look, I'm sure you understand what I mean when relying on a dream and nothing is ever going your way, like trying to save money, then car breaks down, or get a small amount of money built up, and then you have a collection agency call you out of nowhere about a debt you had several years prior. It seems like every time you make one step forward, you're literally pushed 2 steps backwards. You keep telling yourself, if I could just get a loan, I could pay off my debt and even have some money left over. However, though your credit is by no means good enough to get approved for a loan, nor would that solve the issue of the mindset you're carrying at this point in time. Trust me, I know about all these thoughts, because I was this individual myself at one time, and yes, you're right, it can be very discouraging and make you doubt your decision. With all these bills that just keep pouring in, no matter how you're doing financially, they don't care. All they are concerned with is you paying them, then to even make things worse, Lord forbid your electric bill go up in different seasons throughout the year. Because how will I ever afford to pay it? Then I tell you, it feels like I can't win for losing. If only I could get out of this mess and start all over. I'm sure you have experienced these thoughts yourself, but I'm here to tell you it can happen. You can make that turnaround and no longer be constantly worried about how certain bills are going to get paid, nor stress about wanting to figure out a way to get your credit in good standings, because it's possible. Look, I'm here to tell you it can be done, but before we do anything, I recommend watching some YouTube videos or podcasts and potentially read some books as well. Do your full research, because there are a variety of paths you can choose from to turn your financial story around. I myself chose the debt snowball, but even though getting out of debt may sound and seem very important, or even top priority, it is. However, it's pointless to worry about starting that if you haven't changed any of your spending habits or mind frame of the way you look and use money in general. Here's a prime example. If you're still considering borrowing money to get out of debt, or not monitoring a budget to watch your finances down to every last penny, then you're still truly just running a rat race with a never-ending finish line. Because without a true mindset shift, you will never become wealthy or successful. One, because you don't believe it's possible, because I didn't either, and 2, because you haven't fixed the root problem, which is your bad spending habits, because in order to accumulate wealth, you gotta focus on buying assets, not liabilities. Also, you gotta learn to invest by giving your money a job, so it's bringing you money in even while you're sleeping. Instead of just focusing on trying to save, I'll be the first to tell you that's not what I had heard and was taught growing up. It was always get a job, go school, then college, and save as much as possible. Well, nowadays, yes, it's still similar, but with a few twists and turns in the policy. Because with the internet and social media nowadays, you have such a vast of opportunities. However, I'll cut to the pivotal moment of what changed my outlook financially forever. I had gotten mixed up with several loan companies. During a hard time in the economy back in 2008, I was laid off from my job and hit me like a ton of bricks. I was literally borrowing money from one company to pay another. You know the saying, robbing Peter to pay Paul? Well, I did exactly that to fullest, but I'm here to let you know that's a miserable way of living. For me and you as well, because you can only cover something like that for so long before it takes you down, and then when you go down, you don't just fall, you splat. I'm sure you're familiar with the terminology of rock bottom. That's exactly where I was. So that's why I'm making this video, is because if I can help at least one of you all out of that type of lifestyle and lead you down the path to success, then my mission is complete. Because if I learned anything from that horrible experience, it was that without having proper money habits, you're literally walking a thin line of death. And I know how I felt when I was in that horrible position, and I'm sure several of you all have tried or are doing this exact thing. And it truly hurts my soul to know my followers or viewers are suffering like that, because that's no way of living at all. Look, let's get serious about the matter. Let's start with Googling your top 10 wealth building books and how to get out of debt, and how to change your finances and mindset. Then let's grab a pen and pad and write down our results. Now that we got that out of the way, next, let's pick one and purchase it and immediately start reading. Look, I know you all may or may not have the money to spend for books at the moment, but remember, the more knowledge you're able to consume, the wealthier you'll become. Now, turn on YouTube and start binge watching all the different varieties of financial channels. Listen to them on your breaks. At work, on your lunch, or those of you who are able to listen to your phones all day, set a wide variety of them on repeat. After a couple of days, you're starting to question the information you've been taking in. So now there's no better time to get your pen and pad out. Write this: I am grateful for the fact that I am now earning large amounts of money. I am abundantly happy with money coming in from all directions. My mind is growing daily with the financial knowledge for success. I will continue to become better daily. I am not able to fail, so read this and record yourself saying it as well so that every morning and night before bed. I want you to listen this as you read over it, using your finger, scrolling over every individual word. Visualize yourself truly, believing everything that you are reading and hearing. We are priming your brain for success. Do these critical steps all the while creating yourself a written plan and budget. The more detailed the budget is, the better. The type of budget I want you to create is a zero-based budget where every single dollar you earn has a job, and write your debts down smallest to largest. The point of this is, so when you start to pay them off, first you're starting small, so you're not setting yourself up for failure. But plus, you're setting yourself up for self-motivation, momentum, whatever you want to call it. We're getting you ready to change. Because if I learned anything from this research, and key routines I started were to stay consistent, and the key takeaways were: don't spend more than you earn. Keep a written budget, make sure every dollar earned has a job or position. With that being said, I had to arm myself for war, and you should too. Meaning that you mean business, no more games or playing around. It's time to be serious about your wealth building. It's time to put your plan into action. Are you ready? I know I was definitely ready to build a successful brand and eventually turn it into wealth. And with that being said, after you've done the following actions and have primed your mind, then you will be set and determined as well to succeed. You won't allow anything to hold you back from building a legacy for your kids' kids. Because once you're fully locked in, nothing can stop you, and failure doesn't exist. Now that I've revealed this current information, let me break down my original first goal I had. I stated out by creating my budget, of course, and broke it down in as much detail as possible. Then I was amazingly shocked with the results of all the extra money I had that had been just being wasted. So with that being said, my original first goal I actually set for myself was more so a challenge as well, because I knew I had a really big expense coming up. So I started with the envelope challenge. I gave myself 3 months to complete and had the goal of having 10,000 by the time I was done so I could pay off debt and buy my child a vehicle. With that being said, like I told you earlier, I was at rock bottom. So when I say I was determined, that's definitely an understatement, because I was locked in like never before. I was not going to give in. Even though my budget created me some extra income, I knew it wasn't going to be enough. So I started surveys online in spare time for extra spending. By no means was it going to make me rich, but every bit helps. I also scanned receipts from 3 different apps, also for a bit more spending coverage, and then I got me a part-time job also, for which definitely helped boost my income. And I bought myself the 500 pack of envelopes. I labeled them starting at 2, then 4, then 6, then 8, then 10, all the way up to 200, and every day I randomly picked an envelope and had to fill that amount. After about a month in, I was really starting to feel the momentum picking up, and I even decided to add me a couple bonus envelopes. Like for the end of each week, I would put an extra $22.50 in that envelope, and so I continued off to the races. As I approached month 3, I decided to add an additional 100 envelopes, and long story short, at the end of 4.5 months, I was sitting with the most cash I had ever had at one single time without having to borrow it. And with that being said, I had $14,670. With that being said, if I can do it, you can too. With that money, I was able to start off to the races. On my financial journey, I took and paid off my debt and managed to have enough cash left over for my emergency fund starter, because I knew I didn't have but about a year or so until vehicle purchase time. Even though I was doing this to help my child out, I made sure they understood that it was my gift of appreciation for all their achievements in school. And it felt amazing to know that now, with a written plan, goals, and a strategy, I was definitely on my way to building wealth. I opened a traditional 401k at work because they offered a 7% match. I would be crazy to turn that down. Free money. I also opened a Roth IRA, and between the 2 accounts, I was dead set to invest 18% between both accounts, which is more than I'd recommend for you all. Just getting started, I usually say 15%, but I had literally splatted at rock bottom, and I was bound and determined I wasn't going back. I'm sure you all can relate, so make a change in your life and start now, because trust me, once you get your mindset ready, you will change. The way you look at your finances the rest of your life, and when I say you can do it, I mean just that. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because success is literally right around the corner in 2025. However, I would be lying if I told you I didn't have any setbacks, because believe it or not, they will happen. That's just life in general. However, the difference nowadays is I would just shake my head and take it as a learning opportunity and just double down anytime anything like that happened. Whereas used to, I would get discouraged and freak out as if it was the end of the world, but no more, because nowadays failure's not an option. And with that being said, every success story I have at this moment was always followed with epic fails. With that being said, don't plan just for winning only, even though that's the mindset you need is to win, but always make sure you cover yourself for any unforeseen downfalls. Also, that way it gives you a sense of security so you're not always stressed out. And now that I've gotten that out the way, where my true breakthrough happened was when I finally found my mentor, the one who I looked up to and could go and watch their videos if had any questions or concerns, because I felt as if I was being spiritually led to them for guidance, as the movement they were doing is literally changing people's lives. And with that being said, that is what my goal is for my near future, is to change people's lives and help them to better themselves. I hope you understand that if have any questions or worries, don't hesitate to comment, because I truly love being able to help others like my mentor helped me and definitely grabbed my attention and turned my life around. However, along my journey, I decided that by just investing 18% was a good amount and didn't seem like enough to me, because like I said earlier, the thought and fear of going backwards wasn't an option, and I knew I just stayed with that set amount and didn't raise my goals, I would remain stagnant and never reach success. With that being said, I opened me another brokerage account along with my pre-exist Roth and traditional 401k and started buying mutual funds, because the more assets you own, the more you raise your self-worth, and every failure I had along the way taught me resilience and gave me guidance. I needed to achieve great things in life. The more victories I achieved, the more powerful I felt, and the amount of reassurance I gained. So nowadays, my goals consist of achieving and providing greatness to the world, and when you get to this level, I'm sure you will feel absolutely the same. I couldn't just tell you this story as if I didn't have any fears about some of the changes I accrued along the way, because I wouldn't be giving true value and honesty. But I often had moments where I would contemplate, should I open this account, or will I have the right amount of money coming in to fund this account? But I learned with doubt came encouragement, and I would just find myself telling myself, stop stressing, make it happen. And nowadays, boy am I glad I've started, and you will be too. So I share that success isn't just about the destination, but the growth along the way. Emotion, contentment, and hope for the future. Success isn't a straight line, it's a winding road filled with lessons. So, with all this being said, if you were able to gain some knowledge or build up some motivation, comment, I'm ready. And subscribe, that way you can be notified every time I drop new content each week. And remember, wealth building is within reach and success is right around the corner. Because whether you're building a brand or a page or just flat out wealth, just know the only way to success is to start. And I challenge you to do just that. And since you made it to the end of the video, check out this other video and the entire playlist that will guide you down the roadmap to success, because legacy to address, we got you, and we want to see you becoming very wealthy and successful. So I want to challenge you to start now. And remember, I love you all, and you're perfectly capable of winning.